Hey guys, welcome back to Combustion Junction. I'm Steve, this is the Honda CB360T, and today we're gonna do some frame cutting. Yay! Alright, so if you tuned in last time, you will know that I got the bike started, which is a pretty big milestone for this build, because I can now put the investment into this bike that I think it deserves. I want to treat this bike right. So there's going to be a lot of bearings and seals and things to go into it. So knowing that it's a runner off the start encourages me to invest more in it. And I think it's a really cool bike anyway. I had a 400 Super Sport years ago, and man, I love that bike. That was just awesome. And it's the one that I always kind of regret giving up. Yeah, so this I'm really actually looking forward to riding this one in particular. So today, now that I know the bike runs and I got wiring to a place that kind of works, I'm gonna basically pull it all out. I think I'm gonna pull the loom out, I'm gonna take the carbs off. They were a little drippy on the running episode anyway, so I'm just gonna flip them over and make sure that everything is sealing up good and there's no leaks in the floats or anything. Just get the stuff off, like the chain guard and like that little toolbox that's under there, and you know, the rectifier regulator, get all that stuff. Just basically strip the harness out of it, get the back fender off, all that stuff, and start to mold what the subframe or the seat part of the frame of the bike may in fact look like. So, let's get to it. So I'm going to get rid of that, get rid of the pivot, get rid of the seat lock, which is right there, and then the helmet hook, and figure out where the back of this frame needs to be cut to facilitate some kind of a hoop or some kind of a frame structure thing or whatever. Progress getting this stuff cut out. Sort of the end of that sequence, you saw that I was playing around with this a little bit. This was kind of my first idea. It's part of the natural frame of the bike, and I've seen it done where people have actually used this as a rear hoop. And it was where I was gonna go to begin with, just because it comes with the frame. Why not give it a chance? after messing around, it's obviously a much smaller diameter, and when you cut out the bracketry that holds this on, there's sort of a middle piece that is snug on this with a bolt, you know, then you're left with a looseness that is gonna look funny unless you start to clean it up. And I was sort of starting to come up with ideas of how to taper down the metal to sort of hide it or whatever. And then I realized I was going through a lot of work to try and disguise a smaller hoop, and I might as well just go with a proper 1-inch size tubed hoop. So that eliminated this from the equation. So we'll take that out. So as far as going with the proper 1-inch hoop on the back of this, there's a couple of options, and I've been exploring facets of each of them. The main two options are to make or to buy. So I had some of the tubing left over from when I did the Honda CM400 subframe modifications. So I had it, I thought, okay, what are the ways that I could possibly use this and bend it into a hoop without going through the, pardon the pun, the hoopla of, you know, buying a pro bender type thing. So my first sort of thought was this. I took the hoop, and basically this was literally me on a whim, threw it in the vise, and I just started cutting slits all the way down. I wasn't pieing anything out. It was just purely doing cuts the width of the blade. And it actually, if you look at the profile of it, it actually worked out fine. I had made it a lot longer. I actually cut it down because that's the length that I want. All in all, it is a way to go. The downside of this is that there's an awful lot of grinding and welding to go into this afterwards and making it look good. And when you're in this kind of inner thing and you're just have like a 4 or 5 inch flapper disc or grinder or whatever, you're gonna be hard pressed to get it perfect. Now a lot of it's gonna be hidden by the seat or not, depending on which direction you go, but it was worth the test to see, and it's in the back pocket if I ever really wanna go there. Now hoops, to buy a hoop is really like what, 35 bucks or something, and shipping. So it's not an incredibly big venture. So I wasn't doing this to necessarily save money. I was doing it to kind of play, to just see what I could and couldn't do, and you know, with the materials at my disposal. I had this, you know, whatever, 3 feet of tubing left over, so I thought I would just try. This was sort of attempt number 1, and I don't want to go through that much work on something that I don't need to. The second do-it-yourself sort of tube bending option would be make up a jig and actually bend it yourself. Now, if you check out Dan over at CafeRacerGarage, I'll link the video he just did up here. He had an incredibly successful time bending his tube, doing a custom thing and everything else, and I was in the middle of this while watching that. And it kind of inspired me to, you know, maybe try and make a jig and use whatever pipe I have left and see what happens. Because I thought it was kind of cool, and it'd be great if I could, you know, for a couple dollars in sand and a piece of plywood, you know, give it a shot. So it didn't work out great. utter failure. It started to work. I think the downfall was actually in my sand. I should have picked up like playground, whatever, quality sand or whatever. You know, when you put down flagstones and you put the compression sand around it and stuff, that's what I had left over. And I used it, and I think there was some larger granules in there that made up air in here, and so when I started to bend it, it wasn't tight enough to hold its shape. So you win some, you lose some, and then you really, really lose some, but it's not that big of a deal. It's, you know, I had the pipe, it was worth trying out. I'm not gonna buy new pipe to try and bend more. I would rather just spend my money ordering the properly bent one and move on. But I thought it was important that it's not, I don't show all the good stuff. But speaking of ordering the hoop and getting other parts, I've had a ton of parts that I've ordered come in the past few days. So there's gonna be all kinds of cool stuff coming up. I've gotten parts, bearings and seals and everything for the whole front end. So I'm gonna take off all of that, go through everything, nip it all back together. I've got a really cool idea for a headlight mount and a speedo mount that sort of reuses some other parts from other bikes. I'm kind of jazzed about getting into that. The muffler, and there's a little hint of it right there. I've been playing around with placement of the Scrambler style muffler, and I don't know if you can see that. That's a little bit of a hint on the direction I'm going with that. I've got some new cam chain tensioners because apparently there's ways to tell if this engine had been recalled, part of the Honda recall way back in the day, and not. So we'll dig into that. I think I have a fix for my shifter lever missing metal, grinded off, welded into place woes. Lots of cool stuff. So if you haven't, please subscribe to stay up to date and get notifications. Hit the bell if that's your thing. Leave a comment down below, tell me what you think. Don't be too hard on the metal bendy stuff because it was a good effort. I pat myself on the back for the effort, but it was a complete fail. Yeah, share the video, share the series if you think there's someone that might enjoy this that does not know about it, and you give me a like if you feel so inclined to do so. With that, we will talk to you really soon, guys. Cheers.